welcome to Time Comics. Now, with the Thor 4 movie coming, Love and Thunder, let's talk Gorrs Comic Origins, and how that might translate over to the big screen. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. Now, before we get into what Gorrs' role could be in the film, we should probably take a look at who exactly Gorr was in the comics. That way we have a bit of a foundation of knowledge to build on. Gorr was introduced in the second issue of Thor, God of Thunder, back in 2012. He started out as a rather innocent being, born on some unnamed planet way out in the far reaches of the galaxy. From a young age, Gorr was taught by everyone around him that he should have absolute faith and trust in the gods. However, when a series of extremely devastating events, including the death of his entire family, drove him to question the gods, he was exiled by his people, driven out from everything that he had ever known. It was then that Gorr came upon a fallen elder god named Null, who wielded a twisted black blade known as All Black, the Necro Sword. Enraged by the fact that gods did exist, after all, and seeing this figure laying before him pathetically, Gorr took up All Black and struck Null down. It was then that Gorr bonded with the blade, which was later revealed to be the first symbiote, Venom. Gorr now became the God Butcher, taking an oath to hunt down and destroy all gods and godlike beings. Over many millennia, Gorr traveled the cosmos, slaying numerous gods, including quite a few here on Earth. In fact, it was on Earth where Gorr first encountered Thor, nearly killing him, and attempting to torture the young god at the time, hoping to gain the location of Asgard, so that he could go and wipe them out himself. After that, Thor had a few interactions with Gorr, all of which ended in pretty substantial fights, including one where 3 different versions of Thor faced off with him. And this particular fight almost ended with Thor dying, the older King Thor, but ultimately, Gorr was the one who lost his life here. But of course, you know how our comics go, as he came back later, allowing him to continue pursuing and eliminating gods all across the stars. So yeah, he isn't exactly the most friendly fellow, so now, let's try to figure out how things could potentially play out in the 4th Thor film, based upon not only what we know about the movie but the comics. Obviously Marvel always sticks super closely to the comics for films within the MCU, so, you know, things might end up being nothing like what we got in the comics, but in the absence of any conflicting info, what we have is sufficient evidence for some relatively wild speculation. See, Endgame left Thor in kind of an interesting situation, no longer the king of Asgard. He had chosen to travel with the Guardians of the Galaxy, hoping to find out who he wanted to be out among the stars, and that is where the film starts, with Thor on the ship traveling around. Meanwhile, back on Earth, Jane is probably doing some sciencey stuff, when all of a sudden, Gorr attacks her, as he's trying to find information on Thor's whereabouts. Obviously Jane doesn't know, since the pair split some time ago, before the last Thor film, but Gorr takes her with him anyways, figuring that she could be good bait to lure the god out into the open. Thor, hearing about the fact that Jane was taken, springs into action, hunting down Gorr. Upon first encountering the God Butcher, Thor barely manages to escape. But Gorr is wielding All Black, the Necro Sword, a weapon of serious power. Figuring that he needs something to help him defeat Gorr, Thor travels to meet up with the god to reforge Mjolnir. Now wielding both Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, Thor steps up once again, and this is where things get kind of interesting, as it would probably make for a more dramatic film ending in the death of Gorr, with Jane picking up Mjolnir to finish what he started. However, Chris Hemsworth has said that this won't be his last film, so that's probably not what's going to happen. Instead, Jane will still pick up Mjolnir, and the two will team up to destroy Gorr, as the power of 2 godlike beings will prove to be too much for even Gorr, and at the end of it all, the Necro Sword will slip away, setting the stage for the introduction of symbiotes into the MCU again. So that last part might not actually happen, because of Sony. But a guy can dream, can't he? So, will this be how Thor, Love and Thunder plays out? Maybe, maybe not. Either way, he has his hands full once Gorr, the God Butcher, hits the theater. You know something that I just thought about was that possibility that Hemsworth could just be lying to all of us, and he actually will die at the hands of Gorr, so he won't be back. Thanks for watching, and hit that like and subscribe button. Peace.